Welcome, everyone. Today, we shift our focus from general technology integration to a more nuanced and strategic framework: universal design in libraries. This concept, originally rooted in architecture, has evolved into a guiding principle for inclusive service delivery across education and public institutions. Universal design challenges us to ask, are our services truly accessible to everyone we serve? This goes beyond physical access. It encompasses cognitive, linguistic, and technological accessibility. For example, consider patrons who are not fluent in English or who lack digital literacy. Are our interfaces intuitive enough for them? Are our instructions clear and jargon-free? In today's world, universal design is no longer optional. It's foundational. Libraries are adopting flexible spaces, multimodal interfaces, and AI-driven personalization to meet diverse needs. Staff roles are expanding from gatekeepers to facilitators of access, requiring ongoing training in inclusive practices. Take the Oceanside Library in New York, featured in the 2025 Library Design Showcase, which is the American Libraries magazine's annual celebration of new and renovated libraries throughout North America. Their renovation prioritized accessibility, relocating entrances closer to parking, installing hydraulic elevators, and adding ramps and benches to signal inclusivity. They didn't just comply with ADA, they embraced the ethos of universal design by integrating STEM workshops, craft rooms, and a cafe, creating a welcoming third space for all patrons. Another example is the York Woods branch of Toronto Public Library, which transformed a brutalist structure into a vibrant, accessible hub with a glass pavilion, amphitheater staircase, and early literacy center tailored for youth. These libraries demonstrate that universal design is not a checklist, it's a commitment to human-centered innovation. As professionals, we must ask, are our spaces and services designed to empower every user or only the most able and tech-savvy? The digital divide is no longer a binary concept. It's not simply about who has internet and who doesn't. Today, we recognize a spectrum of access, from high-speed fiber users to those relying solely on mobile data, often with data caps and limited devices. Libraries are uniquely positioned to bridge this divide. We are the technology lifeline for millions who lack reliable access. But bridging the divide now means more than offering Wi-Fi or public computers. It means providing digital literacy training, loanable hotspots, and tech mentorship. We must also acknowledge the global digital divide. While 93% of Americans are online, over 40% of the global population remains disconnected. Libraries, especially in underserved regions, are becoming community tech hubs, offering not just access, but empowerment. As information professionals, our role is to advocate for inclusive infrastructure, policy reform, and funding models that prioritize digital equity. The divide is a social justice issue, and libraries must be at the forefront of the solution. During the pandemic, libraries became lifelines. The Long Beach Public Library launched Tech to Go, lending Chromebooks and hotspots to patrons without home internet. Meanwhile, Digital Durham created bilingual guides to help families enroll in the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, addressing both access and language barriers. In Durham County, North Carolina, 13% of households lack broadband. The Digital Durham Coalition, led by libraries and schools, partnered with nonprofits and tech recyclers to distribute refurbished devices and provide training. This is coalition building in action, libraries as connectors and conveners. The Joetten Q Public Library in the Northern Mariana Islands used a $20,000 grant to create a sensory corner with assistive tech for children with disabilities. In a region where sensory tools are prohibitively expensive, this initiative filled a critical gap. These examples show that libraries are not just bridging the divide, they're redefining digital equity. Our challenge is to scale these efforts, advocate for sustained funding, and ensure that no patron is left behind in the digital age. Let's delve into adaptive and assistive technologies, tools that transform library access for patrons with disabilities. Assistive technologies help users interact with existing resources. Think of screen readers like JAWS, which vocalize on-screen text, or Zoom text, which magnifies content for low-vision users. These tools don't change the resource, they bridge the gap between the user and the interface. Adaptive technologies, on the other hand, modify the resource itself. For example, trackball controllers and touchpads adapt the input method for users with motor impairments. On-screen keyboards allow text entry without physical typing. The Braille Institute of America is pioneering the use of refreshable Braille displays and developing a standalone BARD device for wireless audiobook access. These tools are game changers for patrons with visual impairments. In today's world, we're seeing innovations like AI powered smart glasses, haptic feedback devices, and voice controlled interfaces. These aren't just gadgets, they're enablers of autonomy. Our responsibility is to conduct community needs assessments, align with ADA standards, and ensure our technology investments reflect the lived realities of our patrons. Accessibility is not a feature, it's a foundation. Beyond computers, libraries must expand their focus to include a diverse range of non-digital accessibility tools that ensure all patrons can fully participate in library services. Traditional devices such as teletypewriters, TTY, continue to provide critical communication channels for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing, even as many have transitioned to instant messaging, video relay, and speech-to-text services. The presence of closed captioning in multimedia resources is no longer just a regulatory checkbox. It is a core component of inclusive communication that benefits everyone, from non-native speakers to users in quiet study spaces. For patrons with low vision, magnifiers and CCTV systems transform print materials into accessible formats, while audiobooks and talking book services enrich access to literature for those unable to read traditional print. Assistive technologies such as Kurzweil readers, which scan and vocalize text, and Braille printers, which translate written material into tactile form, remain indispensable for equitable access. So today, the landscape of accessibility has evolved to include AI-driven transcription, real-time captioning, and multilingual voice interfaces, making information more immediate and responsive than ever. These technologies are not optional enhancements. They are fundamental to the mission of equitable access. Therefore, libraries must adopt an accessibility-first mindset when curating collections, designing services, and shaping policies, ensuring that every decision reflects a commitment to inclusion across all formats, devices, and user experiences. Web accessibility extends far beyond regulatory compliance. It is a matter of human dignity and social equity. When libraries design digital interfaces, they must center the experiences of users who depend on screen readers, text-only browsers, voice input, or keyboard-only navigation, ensuring that information is equally available to everyone. This begins with the fundamentals: semantic HTML, alternative text for images, descriptive link labels, ARIA roles, and clear heading structures that allow assistive technologies to interpret content accurately. It also involves testing with real accessibility tools such as WebIE, Linux, NVDA, and Wave, rather than relying solely on automated reports. Nowadays, adherence to WCAG 2.2 guidelines and Section 508 standards represents the bare minimum. Forward-thinking libraries are now pioneering voice navigation, gesture-based controls, AI-driven personalization, and multilingual interfaces that adapt dynamically to user needs. True accessibility is proactive, not reactive. It must be woven into every stage of design and development, from wireframes to deployment. As technologist Sumana Hariharaswara reminds us, user experience, UX, is a social justice issue because digital exclusion mirrors broader inequities in society. To build a genuinely inclusive digital culture, library professionals must move beyond policy language and commit to everyday practice, advocating for accessibility in meetings, allocating budgets for audits and training, and ensuring that every update or redesign keeps inclusivity at its core. Accessibility is not a one-time project or a compliance checkbox. It is a continuous cultural commitment to respect, empathy, and equitable participation in the digital public sphere. Let's take a deeper look at some of the adaptive technologies that form the backbone of inclusive library service design today. Trackballs from Fentech Industries are invaluable for patrons with limited fine motor control or hand dexterity. Unlike traditional mice that require continuous movement, trackballs allow users to navigate the screen by gently rolling a stationary ball, reducing strain and increasing precision. Many models also offer programmable buttons, allowing users to customize functions based on their needs, making them ideal for individuals with arthritis, cerebral palsy, or mobility impairments. Zoom text, magnifier, or reader remains one of the most widely adopted accessibility programs in libraries. It provides both enlarged visual content and screen reading functionality, serving patrons who are blind, have low vision, or experience age related vision loss. Its powerful combination of magnification and speech synthesis enables seamless access to online catalogs, digital archives, and ebooks, ensuring that text heavy digital resources remain inclusive. The on screen keyboard by R.J. Cooper offers another level of flexibility for users unable to use a traditional keyboard. By displaying a virtual keyboard on the monitor, patrons can type using a mouse, joystick, touch screen, or even adaptive switches. This empowers users with physical disabilities to perform research, send emails, or search catalogs independently, supporting both accessibility and autonomy in information seeking. Meanwhile, JAWS, Job Access with Speech, by Freedom Scientific, continues to set the standard for screen reading software. It translates on screen text into synthesized speech or refreshable braille output, allowing blind and low vision patrons to navigate digital systems, databases, and websites effectively. Libraries that integrate JAWS into their public terminals not only enhance digital inclusion, but also demonstrate an institutional commitment to meeting diverse accessibility needs. Looking forward, in today's world, we see introduction of an exciting new generation of adaptive innovations, wearable technologies such as smart glasses that provide audio descriptions of visual environments, eye tracking interfaces that allow patrons to control digital interfaces through gaze movement, and AI powered companions capable of real time reading assistance, contextual explanations, and multilingual translation. These tools shift accessibility from reactive accommodation to proactive empowerment. Ultimately, the question for libraries is not whether they can afford to invest in these technologies, but whether they can afford not to. Excluding individuals due to disability undermines a library's core mission of equitable access to information. In this sense, accessibility is not merely a budget item. It is a strategic investment in community engagement, institutional credibility, and the enduring relevance of the library as a public good. Let's conclude by reflecting more deeply on these guiding questions, which move us from theory to practice and accountability in accessibility work. First, what does universal design mean in your context, and how are you extending it beyond physical spaces? In many libraries, universal design began with architecture, ramps, elevators, or wider aisles, but in today's information environment, it must also encompass digital, instructional, and policy design. It's about ensuring that library websites, discovery tools, and learning platforms are as navigable and inclusive as the buildings themselves. A library that applies universal design holistically considers everything from how a patron checks out a book to how they engage with online tutorials to how signage and metadata are presented across systems. Next, we must ask, can we distinguish between assistive and adaptive technologies, and how do they manifest in our settings? Assistive technologies are specialized tools designed specifically for individuals with disabilities, such as screen readers, braille embossers, or hearing loops. Adaptive technologies, on the other hand, are mainstream tools that can be adjusted or modified for accessibility, such as voice-controlled smart assistants or adjustable height workstations. Recognizing the difference helps libraries plan inclusive services that integrate both, supporting not just accommodation, but participation. Then, consider what technologies are currently in place and what's missing. This question demands an honest internal audit. A library might have screen readers on some public computers but lack captioning on instructional videos, or it may offer magnifiers but overlook accessibility in its digital catalog interface. Identifying these gaps is the first step toward building an accessibility roadmap grounded in data, budgets, and measurable outcomes. Finally, who are your digitally marginalized patrons and how are you supporting them? This goes beyond disability to include those facing language barriers, low digital literacy, economic hardship, or limited internet access. Supporting them means offering multilingual materials, community tech training, loanable devices, and staff who are trained to provide inclusive digital assistance. These are not rhetorical questions. They are strategic prompts for transformation. They ask us to translate empathy into design, policy, and resource allocation. As we move forward, libraries must commit to actionable accessibility, not just aspirational ideals, embedding equity into every system, decision, and service. In doing so, we reaffirm the library's fundamental mission to be a place where everyone belongs, everyone learns, and everyone can access knowledge freely and fully.